talk. Just saying. So the next talk is called Understanding Users' Touch Behavior on Large Mobile Touchscreens and Assisted Targeting by Tilting Gesture. And this is by Youli Chang.
Good afternoon. My name is Youli Chang from SIGCHI Laboratory at Seoul National University. This research is about understanding users' touch behavior on large mobile touchscreen and mobile interaction techniques to assist targeting by tilting gesture. I did the research with my lab mates, Sehi, Kyle, and my PhD advisor, Jinwook. People often encounter the situation where only one hand is available to control the mobile device, while the other hand is occupied with other operations. So, large screen mobile devices have one some reach problem, which is hard to touch some parts of the screen with only one hand. To address the problem, we were interested in users' touch behavior of tilting the devices toward their thumb when they would directly touch far targets located outside the thumb's reachable region. We believe that this natural tilting behavior can be used to assist targeting on the large mobile touch screens. So, to begin with, we conducted an empirical experiment to investigate the patterns of tilting devices. We used two kinds of large touchscreen mobile devices and recruited 11 participants who were all right-handed. The participants were asked to hold the device in their dominant hand. They initiated the task by touching on red start button and then touched on highlighted target using their thumb as quickly and accurately as possible. We set up the start button in between the targeting tasks to prevent change of grip posture during the whole task. In other words, we impulse them to go back to their original state by touching the fixed position of the start button. The start button was empirically determined through a pilot study to be at the natural thumb's position when users grip the device. All participants performed the targeting task for all cells once on Galaxy S4 first and then on Galaxy Note 3 because we wanted to move from the device with mild reachability problem to severe reachability problem. We collected gyroscope sensor data and degree of uncomfortableness for each target to investigate the empirical thumb's comfort region. Namely, the participants were asked to verbally report the rating of uncomfortableness after performing one targeting task. As for the result of tilting patterns, we aggregated the gyroscope value at each cell and calibrated them to be aligned with the value of the start button, because we regarded the start button as the natural thumb's position when they are holding the device at their front-facing angle. So, tilt along x-axis means tilt to the left or right, thus the positive angle means the participants tilted the device to the right side, and the negative angle means to the left side. Tilt along y-axis means the device were tilted to make the top of the device closer to the user or to make the bottom of the device closer to the user. From both devices, we've got some consistent results. First, users tilted the device much more on both axes when they had to touch farther targets. Second, the tilting direction depended only on the position of the target and not on the distance from the thumb. So, what happened was, even though the targets were placed on the same left side, the tilting direction for the top left and the bottom left were the opposite along y-axis. Also, they tilted significantly more on x-axis to touch the top left than the bottom left. For the targets placed on the same right side, the tilting direction for the top right and bottom right were the opposite along x-axis. We inferred that the ergonomical limitation of the thumb may have resulted in such behavior. And we aggregated task completion time and the degree of uncomfortableness As the consistent result from both devices, we found that the test completion time had a significant correlation with the degree of uncomfortableness. Moreover, we found several interesting points from the comparison between the two devices. First, aligning the two tilting results by the start buttons, excluding non-existent targets, they matched well. This result implied that the tilting patterns of the targets in the same location were almost identical regardless of the screen sizes. Second, on the smaller device, the bottom left region had no significant difference from the top left region. However, on the larger device, the bottom left was significantly more uncomfortable and took more time than the top left. We could suspect it was due to the larger screen size, thus we suggest that we need to be very careful when putting interactive objects in the bottom left area on the large mobile touchscreens. Through the previous experiments, we verified that users use the mobile device to acquire uncomfortable targets. So, by exploiting users' natural tilting behavior, we designed 3 novel one-handed interaction techniques to assist target acquisition on large mobile touchscreens. First, tilt slide. Users bring the targets closer to the thumb by sliding the screen to the tilting direction. It supports 8 sliding directions, and the screen slides until any of its edges hits the center of the physical screen. Second, for tilt reduction, users predetermine a comfort region as a rectangle by dragging a thumb diagonally. After that, when the user tilts the device, the screen shrinks to fit into the customized comfort region. Users can determine the comfort region repeatedly by previewing a shrunk-size screen rendered within the rectangle. Lastly, for tilt cursor, while the device is being tilted, users can make a cursor appear by dragging gesture. It moves to the same direction of dragging gesture and moves faster than the thumb movements to reach even far targets by manipulating within the thumb's comfort region. To evaluate our tilting method, we designed the controlled experiments with other methods. In order to select the method of prior works for comparison, we first constructed the design space for one-handed targeting interactions. The targeting mechanism means how to assist target acquisition. For example, tilt cursor utilizes a cursor, while tilt reduction and tilt slide utilize screen transform instead so that users can still touch with their thumb. The best example of a proxy region is Carson's thumb space. It assists target acquisition using an empty semi-transparent proxy view where all targets on the screen are mapped. And the trigger mechanism means how users request the method. In case of ours, they are all triggered by tilting gesture, except that tilt cursor requires one more condition, which is dragging gesture. Among this method, we chose thumb space and Kim's at trigger with extendable cursor, or ETC, because we wanted to investigate the performance of proxy region method and differences between tilt cursor and ETC. In detail, both tilt cursor and ETC use cursor mechanism. ETC is triggered only by dragging gesture, but not tilting. Also, we compared our method with direct touch, which is an original touch without an assistant. We recruited 18 participants, and the participants performed 5 trials per method, and 1 trial contained 30 targets, which were randomly activated. As for the result, first, all our methods were significantly faster and more accurate than thumb space. We inferred that additional cognitive effort to determine the relative position of a target on an empty proxy view resulted in extra time and error. Second, unlike our expectation that the method using touch with the thumb would be faster than the ones using a cursor, only tilt reduction was significantly faster. We suppose that difficulty of determining a sliding direction took more time than expected for tilt slide. Lastly, contrary to our concern that tilt reduction would be less accurate than tilt slide and direct touch due to the reduced target size, tilt reduction was as accurate as other methods with best performance in time. We speculated that showing a preview of reduced targets while defining a customized comfort reason might prevent making targets too small to touch accurately. Now, you might be wondering if our tilting methods are useful. We thought that the previous result cannot be applied directly to real mobile scenarios because several factors were excluded. First, the mechanism of our method could be in conflict with conventional mobile interactions. Second, the reduced screen size can be a problem when users see real smartphone contents, such as small font size or figures. In other words, in the previous experiments, the participants could acquire all targets in a single trigger. However, in real mobile scenarios, users might be required frequent retriggers to perform complex tasks, for example, acquiring a far target and then seeing details. Thus, we designed an additional user study to evaluate our tilting method in real mobile scenarios. We excluded tilt slide because it used the same trigger mechanism with tilt reduction but showed worse performance. We also excluded some space, which showed worse performance. Instead, we chose Samsung's one-handed operation mode, which used the same reduced screen mechanism with tilt reduction, but triggered by predefined touch gesture. We recruited 15 participants and asked them to perform two tasks, sending an email and web surfing. For the email task, the participants were asked to navigate to Gmail and read their pre-designated email, which consisted of 12 small letters that couldn't be recognized on a reduced size screen. Then they were asked to reply to the email with the same sequence of the letters. We collected task completion time and the number of delete key presses as the number of letters. And for the web surfing task, we wanted to get users' natural feedbacks by giving them a series of real-life web surfing tasks without any restriction in time or specific actions. As for the result, first, tilt reduction was significantly faster than one-handed operation mode. Both methods used the reduced screen mechanism. However, their different trigger mechanism brought the difference in time performance. In other words, tilting gesture was significantly faster than touch gesture. Second, only tilt reduction had significantly less error than direct touch, with a comparative performance in time. Lastly, although the quantitative analysis didn't have a meaningful difference between tilt cursor and ETC, most participants reported the difficulty of tilt cursor as dragging gesture with the device tilted. This kind of feedback was not found in the previous experiments, thus we speculated that they might be confused to deal with three factors: tilting, dragging, and conventional mobile interactions. So, we suggest that combining several mechanisms has to be designed and applied with care. In conclusion, we investigated users' tilting patterns and empirical sums comfort reason with state-of-the-art large mobile devices. We found that people used the tilting strategy to reach the far targets when using only one hand. However, the tilting directions varied depending on the position of the targets. Also, we found that the tilting patterns of the targets in the same location were almost identical regardless of the screen sizes. It would be interesting to see if this concordance can be generalized into other larger or smaller devices. We designed 3 novel one-handed interaction techniques and evaluated them in a controlled environment and real mobile scenarios. Among our methods, especially tilt reduction showed the best performance from both evaluations. We also found that the conflicts between one-handed targeting interactions and conventional mobile interactions could negatively affect the performance in real mobile scenario usages. Please refer to our paper for more details of our design space. Thank you. Any questions?